I'm Van Sebastian, here with my co-host S.A. Baz Collins for this week's Written on the Edge Season 9, Episode 19 interview. We'll be talking with Terry Connell and discussing his latest book. Let's get to know our guest. Terry has a degree in elementary education from Penn State University, and after a year of teaching, he earned his master's in counseling psychology from Temple University. He worked as a therapist for a few years until his partner Stephan died from AIDS complications. With his life at a turning point, he heard about an acupuncture clinic in Boston called AIDS Care Project ACP. He moved to Boston in the middle of a blizzard, enrolled in the New England School of Acupuncture, and knew he had found his path. A month after graduation, he started working at ACP, and after 10 years, he opened a private office where he treats a variety of conditions. He first published in 2011 his memoir titled Slaves to the Rhythm, and has continued with an award-winning collection of short stories, 3 screenplays, and the collection of essays we're here to discuss today. Terry, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Well, we're glad you made it back, 4 years later.
I've been busy.
You
I've
have
been
been
a little
busy. That's
busy.
amazing. So, for folks who haven't heard your first interview, and I encourage them to do so, just give us a really short why you decided to put pen to paper and tell your story.
Mm. All right. So it goes something like this. I got a copy of our family tree when my father was working on this, and there was no mention of my partner on my branch of the tree, and I knew why. And I knew that I couldn't just let that be the way things stayed. So that family tree really was what kicked into gear something that has been, dormant. Like I have always thought about, I should be a writer. I've played with it. There are tons of little unwritten or unfinished things that I practiced. And then this happened and I had a reason and I had some passion. And so that was the first book. And once it was finished, it really did just unleash this bit of curiosity. If I could do that, what if, right? So the next book was, I am a huge fan of Ethan Kanan. I don't know if you've read his collection, Emperor of the Air. It's amazing. It was what I was striving to do with the next book, was just a collection of short stories. And then it became, all right, well, what if I can do that? And if I can win an award with that, what else can I do? And I went back to my memoir because I felt like it wasn't complete. It's a good book, but the story of Stephan and me and what we did and who he was really, it felt two-dimensional, and it felt like a screenplay could bring it more depth and character and color, and really celebrate dance, which was his life. That's the name of the title of the book, is the last production that we did. So the screenplay happened, and then I was like, well, what if I try another one? And I tried a different story. So it's the whole process or progress has always just been a what if, okay, this is okay, what else can I try?
Right. Well, so after that, you hit a dry spell.
I did. I did. It was this thing of I just wasn't feeling, I didn't want to keep doing the same thing over, right? I didn't want to write. I had several chapters done of a memoir, and I just felt like it was just going to be the same thing that I've already done, that a lot of other people have already done. And just felt it wasn't, every time I sat down, I edit, but there was no progress. And so I just kind of stopped, and I started looking through my other files for a while. I lived for Mexico in 9 years. And part of when I first moved there, as a way of helping build some business and get a little connection to people, I started writing a column for one of the Gringo papers. This was in Puerto Vallarta. And so I had this collection of essays. And I thought, well, that's an interesting thing. But again, collection of essays, nothing really new. And then COVID hit. And for a while, I had dogs at this time. And when I would walk the dogs, I'd walk for an hour and a half, 2 hours. And I started seeing shoes on the streets, just random shoes, like a pair of sneakers, a flip-flop, everywhere. And I
Right.
started taking pictures of them. It's crazy. I'm telling you, it is ridiculous. So over the course of, I want to say 3 or 4 months, I ended up taking more than 300 pictures. There were just, it was everywhere. It was freaky, and I just was fascinated by it. And so there was that. And then I ended up writing an essay about it because it was just such a strange, it was more than coincidence. I don't know what the word is for it, but it kept happening.
Hmm.
So once I wrote that essay, the title essay, Lost Souls, there was this aha moment where I thought, well, what if I take both and put them together? So that's what this new book is right here.
Perfect.
So let me make sure it's in the camera. Lost Souls, Essays and Observations. So it's a photo essay. And the photos, initially I was thinking, well, I'll just take the photos and I'll make this cute little book with the essay and they can kind of illustrate the story. And then I thought, I got more. So it's just this combination of different projects that didn't make sense, but suddenly made a lot of sense.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So you're East Coast, right?
I am East Coast. Was there something I said that brought it out?
No, no, not at all.
I
I'm
try
trying to
not to have an
remember if
accent.
there was a politician somewhere who, instead of saying inject bleach, said throw your shoes out the window. Because what, I mean, how that many shoes?
It was crazy. And listen, in a one walk that, so let's say it's an hour and a half,
Hmm.
15, like there were just shoes everywhere. It was, I can't describe. And so in the book there are only 40,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, just it hasn't been as consistent since then, but I still see them once in a while. I'll take pictures of them. But it was a crazy distraction in the middle of COVID that just when the world didn't make sense anyway, I was kind of like, well, sure, why not? Let's shoes should be showing up.
Well, there you go. And it's funny because if you were ever in San Diego where I am, we have our county fair every single year, and there is somebody there who's shown up at least all the years I've gone, and I'm talking since I was a child, so that's well into like the Middle Ages. And but they have a thing called a collection of wayward shoes, and it's just this huge like cabinet that has been made for them, and it's wayward shoes they found like in walks or on the road, and then they would tag where they found the shoe
Ah,
across, and it was across the United States, and it's just
yeah.
so you would have really been wow.
Yeah,
The
well, it's kind
universe,
of same song, different verse. This is just
yeah,
a
right,
smaller version of
exactly,
that. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. I went right back to that collection. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
So is there an essay you can highlight for listeners that's in Lost Souls that would give them an idea of what they're picking up?
Well, there were a couple things about the essay collection. The assignment from this newspaper was I had free reign of topic, but I had to keep it under 500 words.
Okay.
So that was the challenge. The first few essays were 1,000 words, and I'm like, how do I do this? I can't. So you end up killing your darlings, right?
Hmm.
Um, and there are a couple that I feel like are there are kind of themes that end up showing up. There are a number of them about my family. There are a number of them about being a yoga teacher and what that was like. And then there are just different observations that I've made. Um, and yes, I will highlight one because it is just I am conditioned to it now. I'd like to be deprogrammed. The title of it is Know Like, Know, like.
Okay.
And it starts off with me just getting on the subway when I lived in Boston and riding through 3 college campuses on my way into town and hearing all of these young people peppering their conversation with like. And it like I just every time I heard it, I just started doing this. So and I sat behind someone in a 10-minute conversation and counted over 30 times.
My husband and I were at a Panera, I think, having lunch one day, and the girl behind us was doing the same thing. And he could tell I was phasing out of whatever he was saying. And finally, he's like, "What are you doing?" And I was literally doing this. And it's like
Yes.
46, 46. And I remember at 46 was when I answered him. I'm like, she's saying the word like.
It's just crazy. It's infuriating. And I'm hearing, so I listen to podcasts every once in a while, and And there are people who are like smart, worked with Obama, speech writers, Pod Save America. Those guys are brilliant. But if
Yeah.
you listen, they talk like 13-year-olds. Every other word out of their mouth is like, I just want them to stop it because it just ruins what I
Everything's not a metaphor.
That's very funny.
I have one
So yeah,
link.
there's that. I mean, there are some that have a bit of humor. There's also a really lovely one. There's a woman who I taught yoga with when I was in Vallarta, and she was in the early stages of dementia, and her presence was so, it was just delightful and completely free of ego. So I'd give the class directions and everyone would get into their posture and she would be, bending forward and looking under her armpit, just doing something completely not connected to what I was asking, but so serene and so sure in her effort. It was really, it
You
was
had to
lovely.
admire it in a way.
Yeah, you do. And it wasn't wrong, you know what I mean? So, so there are all these different, like I've had an opportunity to be in a lot of different places and experience some amazing things and some horrible things like no like. And this is just a collection of, they're just observations of my own and how I see things as I move through the world. A lot of stories about my dogs.
Oh,
Brilliant.
that
Yeah.
never hurts.
Yeah.
Well, unless you're Christy Nome, but
No. No.
I'm sorry, but her apology tour was
Oh
a
no.
disaster. Oh my
Well,
God.
yeah.
I'm like, bitch, shut up. Just stop talking about it.
Yeah, she's not doing herself any favors for
No.
sure.
No. So back to your works though, is there anything about Lost Souls I didn't ask that you would like the world to know?
Hmm. Um, no, pick it up and see what it's about. It's just this thoughtful little lovely connection. Again, different from everything else I've done so far, and that was the whole point. I worked with this, so I was using my iPhone, walking my dog. Like all of these pictures were taken on the fly.
Hmm.
And this friend of mine just took them and put them through a program and saturated them and brought out contrast and made them look like something really interesting. And then, a really great graphic designer worked with me. So I was just able to, take this idea of being a writer and make a bigger team around a project. And yeah, I'm really proud of it. It was a really good job. And everyone came together and nothing's ever seamless, but whatever bumps we had were manageable.
Well, I
Right.
love that because it's got like a serendipityness to it. My husband is dealing with cancer, and I just got
Oh,
done with my
sorry.
cancer thing, and then he
Oh,
got
wow.
it. So it's not like we passed it to each other. It's not like that, but it happened to just one follow the other. And we went for his chemo yesterday, and I'm sitting there looking across. We're in a hallway because it was so overbooked in the oncology department, and the infusion center was right across from. So we're sitting there waiting for him to go in the infusion center. And I look across and there is, a sign saying it's the name of the oncology center. And then right below it, there's a sign, and I swear to God, it says the state of California must advise you that there are known chemicals to cause cancer. No. And I looked at everybody and I go, am I the one who's saying this?
Yeah, it's beyond ironic. I don't know
Yeah,
what that
it is. It's like the irony of it. It's like, okay, this is a self-perpetuating system here.
Hmm.
But I
is.
love
Really
that
funny.
your book has that serendipity is that you just kind of snapped as you went, kind of thing.
Well,
And that's
there
cool.
really was this, you know, there was this gift of time. Like I had all of this time in front of me. I
Mm,
closed my office, I changed my career, I suddenly had all of this time, and I kept sitting down and thinking, I can't not use this, right? And when nothing was getting any traction, I thought, well, shit, I've got tons of stuff already done.
I think the next one you do, if you do another collection, take the photos and turn them into line art and make it an adult coloring book, activity book with your stories.
You know what?
See?
This might be if you want to collaborate on this.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. We'll have tear out pages. So while they're
Yeah.
reading the book,
All right. While I was doing my research for this episode and I was checking your bio to see if there'd been a bio update, What you have on your About page is a beautiful example of the slice of life that you're talking about. Do you know what I'm
Hmm.
mentioning?
So this, yeah, you know what, I remember it, but is this the chiclet story?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I've dropped a few chiclets in my life. It's true. It's very true.
Can we share that for our audiences?
Yeah, sure. So, at some point, I was with a friend of mine at a club, and it's early enough in the evening. No, not a lot of people there, but it was Mexico. It's outside. Some people are shirtless, some people aren't, and we're hanging out. We're having a drink, and I see this really handsome guy across the bar, and I turn to my friend and I say, "I'm going to go see who he is and introduce myself." And before I walk away, I put a chiclet in my mouth. And I go over to introduce myself. The music's kind of loud. I can't hear what he's saying. I lean in so I can get a better sense of what he's saying to me. And as I lean in, the chiclet falls out of my mouth and lands on his chest. And first of all, I don't remember if I say this in that little thing or not, but my friend saw all of it from across the bar and
Yep.
just howling at the whole thing. His name was Francisco. And all I did was pick my chiclet up off his chest, put it back in my mouth, and say, Mucho gusto, Francisco. And I walked away. Like I felt like anything, there was no opportunity. It looked like my tooth had fallen out on him. It was just, yeah.
I mean, that just proves my point. I've always thought that all of gay men's muses is Endora from Bewitched. And it
That's really
explains
good.
everything that happens to us is because Endora has that sense of humor that she has. And I just think that all gay men are followed around by the spirit of Endora.
Yeah, or yes, she's always knocking something over, or it's
Yeah,
hitting
yeah,
me,
yeah.
yeah, or
Well,
she's the one who hit the back of my head, and that's why the gun fell out. Yes.
and the reason I bring this up to highlight your writing sample is because you then close the About Me by likening writing to that chiclet and
Yeah, well,
how,
it's true. It's true. Writing is to sit down and write is to flirt with something, whatever you want to call it. And sometimes you're feeling really cute and there's a good conversation. And a lot of times all there is a chiclet on a sweaty chest and you with a lot of embarrassed faces. It's true. It's true, but you keep going back. I keep going back.
yeah.
I don't know what to say or how to explain it, but there's just something about this particular medium for me that I can't yeah, it works for me. It keeps me curious.
hmm I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And I love that story, which is why I
I'm
didn't
so,
steal
I'm
it as
so,
your
I'm
as your
so
bio.
glad.
No, instead you brought up the title of his book, Slave to the Rhythm. And for this entire interview, I have Grace Jones in my head with the
And you
longest
should.
earworm.
You should. That's a good, well, you and
I know.
Kennedy.
It's the queen. I get it.
Yep. All right, Terry, are you ready for our get to know you questions?
I bring it on.
All
Take it
right.
away, Bez.
Well, in this year of diving deeper, what's your favorite writing snack or drink? I ask as he drinks.
Well, drink is going to be coffee for sure. And I don't snack when I write. It's because then it just distracts me and all I want to do is like, if I can keep myself focused and isolated sensorily wise, whatever that word is I'm looking for, then I'm a little more focused. So I don't snack.
Yeah, I kind of get that. When I'm writing, I don't really snack, but I must have beverage.
Mm.
Beverage must be there,
Yeah.
you know.
Good strong
So
cup of coffee. I am good to go.
yeah, right, exactly. All right, and I just saw some kid talk about being gay, what being gay was like, and this is the children talking, and he said that he knew he was gay because he obviously had attraction to men, but then he said he wasn't sure if he was part of the gay community because he doesn't like iced coffee. And I just thought that was the weirdest analogy. I'm like, okay, so that's where we are, children, huh? All right.
It's funny.
All right. Second question. What books did you read growing up?
Hmm. Um, well, you know what? My parents, you're probably old enough to remember the Reader's Digest condensed books,
Oh,
yeah?
yeah.
So that we had all of them, and there are a number of them that have still stick with me, 60 years later. One is Education of Little Tree.
Oh yeah.
Oh, such a good
Being
story.
native, that story has
Oh,
major importance for me. And what
yeah.
most people don't realize, that man was a member of the KKK. He was a racist.
So unfortunate.
It's so bizarre. It's just a
It's so
bizarre thing
unfortunate.
that he would write a story that it's that touching and that deeply
Yeah,
evocative, and yet the man was a freaking KKK
I
member.
know.
Wow.
Who'd have
Terrible.
thought?
Terrible. Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, The Yearling was a big one. When I was really young, I was really into that, animals being the lead character of a story. There's a story about a black jaguar that gets caught and put in a circus and escapes. I call Black Lightning. Love that book. Um, and then Hardy Boys, of course,
Oh yeah.
The Outsiders. I mean, all these classic ones that most teens from at least my generation were reading. And then high school, it was Lord of the Rings.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
who's been the biggest supporter of your writing?
Who's been my family and friends for sure. For sure. Yeah, they've been really sweet about it. And it's yeah, that's all I'm I couldn't I'm struggling to find words. They're lovely, they're supportive, they're incredible. Yeah, everyone should have family and friends like the ones I have. They're
There you
the
go.
best.
There you go. I'm all for that. All right. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
Morning. Morning. Get me up at 4. I'm good. Yeah.
All right. That's about
Get
the
me up
time
at 4, but get me in bed before 9.
that's about the time I go to bed. All right. So, what's your favorite hobby outside of writing?
My favorite hobby outside of writing. Well, at this point, I'm where I live outside Philadelphia. There's this amazing. It's called Wissahickon Park, and there are just all these trails. So that's been just a fantastic way to kind of get out
Mind
and
people who say like a lot.
just avoid them, avoid them for sure. Yeah, no, it's been especially this whole post-COVID thing. It's still like I still feel like the dust is settling a little bit and trying to find that solid ground. So it's I'll walk for an hour and a half in there and just feel like it's, the whole forest bathing thing. It's really pretty true. So yeah, I do that. I like to read. I play in the kitchen. It's like dropping chiclets. There are a lot of chiclets in my kitchen for sure, but
But no
I go back to
bare-chested
that.
man to
I
go
keep
with.
going back to that too. Yeah. I didn't get into the whole sourdough thing, but I've played with different bread recipes and I've got a couple good ones and I can make a mean marinara sauce.
Oh, there you go. What more
Yeah.
do you need? All right. Has writing and publishing books changed the way you see yourself?
Yeah. Well,
I would
before I
assume,
did,
especially with your essays and stuff, those are observations that are life impactful. I would think so.
well, I think they are. I mean, certainly to, some people. What it's changed is just, I think about my father. My father had the same job pretty much his whole career. He moved up the ladder, but stayed within the same company, and his life, and he created a good life for us and our family. But one of the things that I've been fortunate enough to do, being a gay man and not having any children, is really kind of question the direction of life and change path frequently. So this is just one of them, the idea that I could be a writer was one thing, and once it happened, it wasn't, oh, this is just a one-time thing. It became
Mm,
this, okay, how else can I explore this and what else can I do to express myself this way?
mm.
So it's changed how I see myself, and yeah, I see myself more as an artist than I think I did 10 years ago.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
If you were to write a spin-off about any of your characters in your books, but yours are all essays, right? So it's not real
Well,
or
there's fiction in the short stories, so
okay,
yeah,
well,
I do have
is there
some.
one you that's kind of like for me, when I write characters, sometimes I write a character and I just love that character so much I have to keep reminding myself they're not the focus of the book. So do
Yeah.
you have any characters like that?
Well, I have, and it's become one of them has become a screenplay.
Oh,
And yeah, so one of them is in the screenplay, and then there's this other one that I'm, if you look across the collection of what a person can write, what I haven't done is write a full novel. So I'm working out how that would occur for me, and I'm still trying to figure out some of the nuts and bolts of it, but I know the opening scene, and it's based on a character from one of my short stories, which, by the way, is what Ethan Kanan did too. If you guys don't know his work, go check it out. He's fantastic. So he took a short story. I don't remember the name of the short story, but it was in that collection, Emperor of the Air. And he took a short story and made it a novel. And the novel is called Blue River. And it starts off in third person, and then there's this middle section that's second person, and then it goes back to third person again. Just such lovely storytelling, such great descriptions. He's fantastic.
all right. Well, have you ever traveled as research for your book?
No, I'd like to go to Ireland
Oh,
for
there
this
you
book.
go.
Yeah, this whole idea of a novel, I feel like I want to bring some of my roots back into part of who I am and what I'm looking at. Yeah.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. And finally, how do you celebrate when you finish a book?
It's it's a weird thing because because they're self-published, there's no moment. So
Mm.
it's usually a walk in the woods just to kind of relieve myself and kind of say, okay, and decompress. And again, it might be something small with people that I know. I tend to be a bit understated. I've spoken to a number of writers, like self-promotion is always a hard thing.
Oh, yeah, it is for all
So
of
I
us.
end up, it's a quiet little, hey,
That's why we do this, because
yeah,
we know
listen,
authors have a really terrible
I,
time
I, I I
promoting.
wanted, in fact, I wanted to start off with this because you give people an opportunity. Independent artists don't get a chance to talk about their work, and most of us spend our days being something else as opposed to artists. So the opportunity to just kind of be in an artist mindset and kind of sit in that space it's a really good gift. And I wanted to thank you guys for this opportunity and for all of us. You guys are doing something really great.
Thanks. I
Well,
wasn't
thank
fishing
you.
for that, but thank you.
No, well, you don't have to. It's very genuine, and I really did mean to lean with it. Yeah, so thank you.
We love that. Thank you very much. Well, you made
Mhm.
it through the list, so bravo.
Excellent. Thanks
Mhm.
so much. Where's my toaster?
There's a throwback. Here you go.
Ellen
Welcome to
has
the
it. Go get it from her.
welcome to the club. Um, so what have you got next? Are you doing any promotional events for Lost Souls or working on a new
Well,
project?
I'm waiting on I'm going to do a reading. I'd like to do two or three, and I'm waiting for I've submitted for a few reviews, and I want to have a good tag to kind of lead with. So I'm still working on the promotional end of it, but yeah, I'm reading two or three readings in the Philadelphia area. I just don't have them on dates or locked down yet. But check back on my website,
I was gonna say, where's the best place for people to check for that upcoming information?
www.terryconnell.net.
And that's two N's, two L's for Connell.
Two N's, two L's. Thank you so much. Yes.
My pleasure. All right, Terry, any final words of wisdom?
No, not at all. But I really do. You guys are thank you. You're doing some great work, and it's a gift to all of us trying to make some noise around our work. So thanks.
Well, thank you for being here and helping us get the word out.
My pleasure.
All right, folks,
Very
we'd like to extend
to the
a
rhythm. Sorry,
Yeah.
it's still going.
Listen, it's a really good screenplay. The memoir was good. The screenplay is really cool.
Okay, okay.
I hope at some point we have a conversation because I have a producer and a director around.
Well, there you go.
It's-
Hello, Netflix. Are you listening?
Yeah, it's a
Yes.
really good story. It's a good
Mr.
story.
Gaiman, we have a story for you.
Yes. Yes.
All right, folks, we'd like to extend a huge thank you to Terry Connell for joining us. Terry, thank you again for everything, for putting your works out in the world, and for being who you are and all the lovely things you do.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Our pleasure. And we at Written on the Edge are proud to introduce you to new media by queer content creators. So if you enjoy learning about new artists or hearing our thoughts on entertainment media, please like and subscribe so you get the alerts for new episodes. The show is produced by Rogue Ravens Media. For our disclaimers, links to social media, our listen stations, or to sign up as a guest, visit www.rotepodcast.com. Tune in next week for your queer media fix.
Remember, everything's not a metaphor. like,
Oh, what's that? Closing time. Bum's Rush and Melody, dear.